Hi, I'm Ethan from Divine Pro Wrestling, and you are drinking at Moe's.
This is Drinkin at Mo's, where we talk about the pros of pro wrestling in the Midwest while sipping on some brews with blessed beers and wrestling. That's my scene. Death matches and lucha libre, it's also mean. I'm a straight up smart goofball, not no kiss ass. I stand tall when it comes to wrestling. I'm the king. I know every move, every fling. Get ready for a wild time with Drinkin at Mo's, where we don't quit. Drinkin at Mo's, that's where it's at. Like a power bomb, we hit hard, never flat. Fucking right, we're living the dream. Talking about wrestling, always a scream.
All right, everybody, taking time out before we get this show started. I want to thank Reaper Apparel for having Drinkin' be a brand ambassador for their clothing line. They got good stuff. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got beanies, they got lots of great stuff, encouraging everybody to break out of their comfort zone, live their best self, and hey, it's something I try to live every day. Now, be sure when you go and you're filling out your order, use the code drinkinatmos, get 10% off, and the link and the code will both be in the description. Let's fucking go. All right, everybody, welcome. Drinkin' Mo's Big Mo here. You know the drill by now. YouTube, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff, because YouTube's algorithm continues to be a pain in the ass. We're most places you can find audio podcasts too. Today, I'm excited to have with me Ethan of Divine Pro Wrestling. We are going to talk, well, obviously, wrestling, and Divine's got a pretty nice card coming up on January 11th, titled Endless Waltz. And I'm like, when I saw some of the people on this card, I'm like, okay, I'm very, very familiar with some, not as familiar with others, but hey, the thing that I've always enjoyed with this podcast is I've been able to learn about new people, new promotions all the time. So, hey, I'm all about it. So, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. Mutual friend of ours, Peapod, a shout out to him for really kind of getting me on this podcast tour. And I first off add, as the commentary lead of Divine, Peapod has been invaluable to the promotion. The gentleman is just endless amounts of knowledge, help, just pushes everything along and really believes in everybody that he works with, which is very important. So shout out to him.
Oh, shout out to Peapod indeed. I've had him on twice now, and yeah, no, he's been extremely great to me. It helped getting me in touch with you, and sharing, or at least reacting to most of my episodes, if not pretty much all of them. So hey, he's been great to me.
He is definitely somebody who we are very proud of to have on the team here at Divine.
Oh yeah, and when I was getting ready to make my commentary debut, he was an invaluable resource. Unfortunately, stuff happened, and now that that footage is pretty much lost. So yeah,
it happens. We've lost a few shows, not the Divine shows, but I've done some production work for stuff, and we've accidentally lost some either entire shows, audio files, things like that. Yeah, technology is what it is. We try to work around it the best we can.
Oh yeah. As I always say, especially with this situation, shit happens.
That's really what it boils down to.
Just try to roll on with it. So I believe when you sent me the card, was it in order? Because I'm trying to, with the amount of wrestling that I watch, not only for my own personal enjoyment, but for the show, sometimes my memory gets a little fuzzy.
I don't know if it was in the order at the time. I can give you the order, or we can just talk about the matches. I will tell you the main, it's a co-main situation for this
Mm,
because the title should always be featured on that. However, there is a massive match as well that is happening as the other half of the co-main event. So we can just run down the card. I can let you know where everything falls at. And if you've got any questions
absolutely.
about anything, I am on board for it.
Absolutely. That is perfectly fine. You know what? We'll go in order of what I end up having it on my notes here.
It might be right. It might be right. I don't
It
know what
very
order
well
I
could
said it.
be. It very well could be. But well, first one that I had in my notes, I'm actually familiar with one half of this match. Randy West versus, and I mean, correct me if I'm not pronouncing the name right, Ray Larson.
Correct.
Okay,
Absolutely
cool.
correct.
I've talked with Randy about coming on, but shoot job schedule along with how busy of a person she is,
Yes.
it just hasn't worked out. But I've had Schwartzy on twice.
Yes. Yo, Schwartzy loves to talk.
No,
Absolutely.
that,
You're always going to get an interesting conversation when Schwartzy's involved. We've, from being in the area, it was really nice that we were able to have this. So just a slight backstory on things here. I acquired
yeah.
Divine in June of 2024. And I acquired it. It had been dormant for about 3 years. They ran two shows. I was able to actually do ring announcing for the show that happened the day before I acquired Divine. Divine was originally created by Rachel Green, who owns Horror Slam. And
Okay.
so really what it boiled down to is she saw the drive and ambition that myself and the team that I was assembling would put into with the women's wrestling side of it, and it allowed her to take over and really focus on the horror slam side of things. And I can't be thankful enough for her allowing me to steward this into a new generation and grow and give it the attention that it really deserves. And it's nothing on Rachel. She
Oh
just
yeah.
running two promotions is really hard. Running one is hard enough, and then running two of them is just kind of unheard of.
Yeah. Not very many people can pull that off.
Right, right. But one of those cool things that happened when Divine was rebirthed, let's say, a lot of the women in the area weren't currently wrestling at that time, but one
Mm.
of them that was Randy West. So Randy West was back on that first show back. It was called A League of Their Own. And Randy has been on Divine many times in the past before that as well. Randy and Mickey Knuckles are two of the, I don't know if they were Divine originals. I don't have the entire history of the company, but both have storied history in their own careers along with their time at Divine. The story behind this match, however, though, is you do have Randy, the mother of all mothers in this mother, uh, the baddest broad in the business. Tommy Vendetta's recurring nightmare, every single one of Randy's monikers, you have her on one side.
Oh yeah.
Ray Larson has about 3 years into the business at this point.
I was gonna say it was about 3 that I noticed.
Yep. And so part of that time was off with injury, unfortunately, but now Ray's really stepping out and getting comfortable doing things on her own. She debuted at OVW. But one of the things that happened is when she made that debut at OVW is she had to have a talk with a booker and was able to step out of a booking that she had, but it was against Randy West. And
Mm.
Randy really didn't take too kindly to that. Randy being a consummate professional said, that's fine. I'll take them, get me a match anyway somewhere, but she still really wanted to face Ray Larson. There's been this will they, won't they kind of thing that's happened.
Mm.
And they did have an opportunity to be in the same ring, but not really face off against each other at a JCW, at a Juggalo Championship Wrestling event on Devil's Night here in Michigan at I believe it's the Majestic Theater in Detroit. However, this is the first time these two have ever met in a singles match. And to make sure that it happens, it is opening the show. There is no running, there is no hiding. This match is kicking things off. So we're very excited about it. Ray doesn't feel like she's slighted Randy. Randy might feel a little slighted from this, but all I know is that there's a lot of vigor, there's a lot of backstory, and these two ladies are going to come out and put on one hell of a show.
Oh wow, yeah, and there's some people, I've heard in the past complain about going on first, but hey, there's a lot of shows out there that are proving that, that first match can, you're starting off on a good note, and obviously with the main event, you want to start off, you want to end on a good note. So they're almost, some people might hate me for saying it, but they're almost equally as important. You started off with a bang, and then you leave people going home happy.
This is one of those cards that we generally run 5 to 6 matches a show. And the goal with that is that we all, not only do we want to send people home happy, we also want to send them home before midnight. We want you to get your money's worth. However, we also want you to be able to get, leave ever since the we'll call it the lockdown phase. Restaurants don't stay open as late. If you wanted to grab dinner after a show, it's a little hard. Some fast food joints are closed. We want to make sure that you're able to, because you can get delicious food at the venue, which is Grizzly's Bar and Grill at 519 or 1519 Oak Street in Wyandotte, Michigan. You can get food and drink there, or when you leave, you still have the availability to get that. But what we want to do in that meantime is stack this card from top to bottom. And what better way to open it with a match that doesn't allow Ray to walk away from anything if that's how Randi feels, but it also allows Ray to establish, like, hey, I'm not afraid to take on Randi right out the gate. We don't need a precursor. We don't need a pre-show match, nothing. Like, we're going to set the tone for the pace. And that's how I see the opening match.
I can definitely see that mentality with placing that match at the beginning, because, knowing what I do about Randi West, she is definitely the term that I've mentioned with, a bunch of people out there, equal opportunity ass kicker.
Yes.
She is, like, no matter gender, whatever, she'll go in there and knock the snot out of you. And I gravitate towards some of those intense personas, and she can definitely be that, especially, I would imagine, if she's felt slighted in one way or another.
And to say somebody feels slighted on something, I do want to point this out. Randi doesn't take the slighting the same way that somebody else does. Randi is not a person who's going to get on social media and speak about it. Randy's somebody who's going to take action. So there's a different level of it there. It's not those, like, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to get on my soapbox and something. Randi's soapbox is the wrestling ring. That's where she's going to do her talking. That's where she's going to set that up. And Ray has experienced a lot of success recently. Like I said, debuted in OVW, has been making her rounds, has wrestled at Njpw in Ohio, Emerge. She wrestled at the big Converge show with Ricki Shane Page, or that Ricki Shane Page had a hand in developing in Cleveland, Ohio, along with a bunch of the Michigan promotions, including Divine. So it's a really exciting time. I think that match is definitely the thing that's going to set everything off. And I'm not sure what one you have next, but we can get into it. Like I said, I have the backstory on everything, and I'd be
awesome. I love hearing the backstories. Like, when I'm learning about, especially some people I might not be as familiar with. But you know what? Since you brought up Ricki Shane Page, I have had him on, and you know what? You have somebody that, at least as of right now, is still aligned with him. Although, I don't know, that 440 is going through a bit of a thing right now.
Everything was left in the ring at Ruthless Pro. That was at Berwyn Eagles Club. So
yep, I was watching that one, so it was like, oh, okay then. But
there's a little bit of interesting thing here too, because this does tie into the first match. We talk about bringing that veracity. We talk about bringing that level of pain. Randi West is the trainer of the person that you're going to mention. So
very much so. Alice Crowley versus Leela Hall. Alice Crowley, like I said, familiar with her through, Ricki Shane Page and the rest of 440, and, not as familiar with Leela Hall, but, doing homework. Truth Martini training her, and those that might, remember back to the pre-Tony Khan Ring of Honor days, he had a lot going on there.
The House of Truth, Jay Lethal, Taylor Hendricks, you name it. I'm cheap pop here. I am a Truth Martini I am a Truth Martini product as well. So
nice.
I'm very familiar with Leela. This is actually going to main event the show.
Sweet.
So a little backstory here. I was able to film Leela's first professional match that took place in October of last year.
Nice.
She had a win against another local gentleman who obviously just celebrated his 1 year, wrestleversary, and a fantastic gentleman over here named Jack Delaney. It's super young man. Both of them were in high school when they started training. I believe they went to high school together, actually. I might be wrong on that, but either way, they were in high school, seniors at the same time, and yeah, they just hit that mark. Jack is his stock is rising in the area, and Leela's stock is rising too. But it came to a point where Leela started to feel like she needed a challenge. Leela needed somebody other than, and it's no slight to anybody that's local, but in a circle, you start to kind of wrestle a lot of the same people a lot more frequently. You learn them. You really just, you want to change, right? It's why you go on vacation. Like, you might love your hometown, but you want to go see another place.
True.
So rumblings got around. I heard that Leela was looking for something. She was looking for a challenge. Opportunity to bring Big Al in happened. And I'm a Big Al fan. I think I think Al really embodies what it is to be a pro wrestler these days. Not just a women's pro wrestler, not just a female in the pro wrestling business, but just a pro wrestler in general. Travels, fights anybody, does not care, hits hard. And so it came to a point where I was like, okay, well, I asked, I said, hey, are you willing to take this challenge on? Leela agreed to it, and so we made the match official. Now, the interesting thing is Wyandotte, Michigan is Leela's hometown. So something that we like to do at Divine is we want to give people big opportunities. And the biggest opportunity we could think of is to give Leela the biggest match of her career, which, even though last week she did win her first, she won a singles title in a fatal four-way against three male wrestlers. So she's currently a champion at Metro Pro Wrestling. She's a PWL TV champion, which is a local public access channel there.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to give her the biggest challenge of her career against another lady, and it just happens to be Big Al Crowley. So, and we're stoked to have Al at Divine. I think if you are running a promotion in general, not just a women's promotion, but Al is a great asset to have, is somebody that you should have on your show. An imposing presence. Obviously, you've seen she's front and center on the poster. It's somebody who drives fear and intimidation into the hearts of others. And she was the first one that we announced for this show. We announced Al's debut right after the last show that we had, which is Season of Change. It's available on YouTube on the On a Forklift podcast YouTube page. Al was the first one we were announced, so we just kept her front and center, and that's where that's going to go. So that is the co-main. That is the main. The main part of the co-main topic, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to that when we get through the matches, but we're very excited for that to happen, and we really do believe that Leela can rise to the occasion, but she does have quite the monumental task in front of her.
That she does, like you said, with Randy West, who trained Alice Crowley. It takes the equal opportunity ass kicker it takes one to know one. And she got trained by one, and she is one herself. And like, I remember looking at that poster and seeing the picture of Big Al on there. I'm like, okay, if I were standing near her and I was seeing that look on her face, I'd be like, oh, okay. Hopefully I'm on her good side. Because she can be an intimidating force.
And there is very much that switch. If you've seen Al at a wrestling show, not ready to fight. Very pleasant, very cordial. Once that intensity switch is flipped, don't get in her way. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, nope. I've been fortunate enough to meet some of my favorites out there, and I've seen that with a lot of people where it's like, they're at their merch table, they're selling their stuff, and some of the nicest people out there, but you get that camera's on and they're making their entrance, or hell, at whatever point in the night outside of when they're at the merch table, they can be one sadistic son of a bitch. Like, I like to think of one of the people I've got a signed figure from back there, Swerve. One of those same people. Like, he can play one sadistic son of a bitch. I mean, we've seen some of the matches that he's had with the likes of Hangman and stuff, where it's like, holy crap, I don't want to be on his bad side. But when I met him, he was filming a promo in the parking lot. So I'm like, I'll stand back here, let him finish. One of the nicest dudes ever. He actually follows me on Twitter now.
Yeah, he died. So we have one of my personal friends and somebody who's a big supporter of the show from out in the Pacific Northwest. He's a huge Defy fan. My buddy Mike, or Wheels, or if he watches this, he's gonna know it's him. But he's also somebody who knows Swerve in that regard, and says very much the same thing. I think also Mike said at one point, he goes, "I don't want him to use me as a weapon." So that's
Oh yeah,
one of those
and
things.
Alice Crowley, this match, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing this one, just because, okay, everything's in a kind of a flux from, the last Ruthless show with, 440, like, who knows where everybody's going. So to see where she's gonna go.
We'll see if she comes out with the gear. We don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that was just a thing to be like, this phase of it is done. Maybe there's another phase. Who knows? So, you know what? Next one that I kind of wanted to talk about, because you brought up a very interesting fact on one person in this match. And, we talked about Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Well, it is for their women's championship. Dani Mo versus Ricki Morris and Karter Caufman and Rachel Armstrong. And Dani Mo, fairly familiar with her, but holy crap, probably holds one of the world records that I can't imagine many people even attempting to break it.
Yeah. Yeah. Dani is a rather impressive, energetic, charismatic. There's too many different things to mention on there. I've seen Dani wrestle in this was on video, but I've seen her wrestle in a tent at an electric music fest or an EDM festival. I have seen Dani wrestle in a bar. I've seen her wrestle in a banquet hall. I've seen her wrestle in I believe she was on AEW Dark or AEW, something like that. Dani has been all
AEW and in Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Tony Khan Ring of Honors, but still.
Dani is a force to be reckoned with, whether she is with her other half of the Neon Ninjas facade or not. And especially in this case, obviously she's carrying the banner for Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Being that I am in the Detroit market, it's on this side of my hat. They're gonna get mad at me because I'm not drinking Faygo right now, but that's okay.
That's my thing. I've never actually had any.
So the interesting thing, just a sidetrack on this, the interesting thing about Faygo is a lot of places use specifically distilled water. Faygo uses a water that is from here. They actually use like a Great Lakes water, and it's got a different distillation process. So they actually use it from here. That's kind of the little bit of the change in like how Faygo is. Luckily, so we reached out to JCW. We had booked Dani Mo. I have some contacts on that side of it. I may or may not know a gentleman named Jeeves who happens to be a concierge for the Richie Boy Briar Wellington. And they're pretty tied in with the JCW crowd. So called some things, found out that we were actually able to have Dani defend the JCW championship on the show. Now, what was really cool about this is even before we knew about that, we had already booked this match. So we didn't know that Rachel Armstrong was going to be wrestling for the Juggalo Championship Wrestling title, but now she is. And Rachel, known as Miss 450, we're going to see how this shakes out. I have never been able to see Rachel wrestle in person, but I am very familiar with her work online. Thank goodness for the and the other two are, I will say, local. I will say Divine. I will give this Divine Originals because I'm going to start calling anybody that's here from my first show as one of the originals.
Hey, yeah,
I can make the rules. It's this stuff. We can make the rules on it. One thing I do want to say about Divine is I'm going to talk about it with the I thing right now, but we have a very much we, not me personality here. When it comes to the team that makes Divine happen behind the scenes, we work as a unit. We work as a village. It takes all of us to make this show happen. I might be the person that does a lot of the booking and a lot of the money handling and things like that, but without the rest of the team available, I could not make it happen. Like it just wouldn't happen. It's not a one-man show. It can't happen. I have just amazing women and men behind the scenes of this that make it happen. And some of them have on-screen roles as well. So with that said, super stoked for this. But the two originals that are on there, Ricki Morris, who is a local to the Detroit area, and then Karter Caufman, who you can see wrestle a lot in Indiana, the Indiana area. Generally, she's either tagging with or fighting against Leela Feist, who is on OVW right now. While it looks like they have their like a tall task for them, I think they both can slot into that role. Karter is very interesting. I love Ricki. Ricki knows this. We don't have to go down that. She's going through a little bit of a thing right now. Her and Leela Hall are kind of figuring out, they're best frenemies. They actually, while we're filming this, and this is going to come out on a later date, they have a match tonight, and it kind of moves into that. Karter, though, is very much an Owen Hart style. Kind of flies under the radar, might not be exactly the most out there person, but people need to take prize of Karter's ability in the ring. A heck of a technician. Always shows up, always shows out, and gives you more fight than you think you're gonna get out of her. And so I'm super stoked that she's part of Divine, and I'm excited to see what she's able to do in this match. But everybody's got a tall task when they're looking up at the person that's climbed Mount Everest.
That like I remember when you first told me about that, I'm like, oh, I've got a relative that's actually summited, and then I was looking, I'm like, holy, an actual match up there at base camp? That's like, holy shit. Like I've always thought, yeah, okay, it would be cool to summit Everest, but I'd personally be happy just getting to help out at base camp. I'm still seeing the damn mountain.
Hey, I'm part of the way there. Look, if you're gonna half-ass something, half-assing climbing Mount Everest is a-okay.
Yeah. Like in most things, I have the phrase never half-ass anything, always full-ass it. But if base camp Everest, I'm good. I'm good at that point. I'm seeing the mountain, but holy crap, to actually have a match up there, like people talk about performing at high elevations when they're just talking about Denver.
Yeah.
But they're
talking about 5,000 feet above sea level, not 15,000 feet wherever the base camp is. I don't know where the match took place exactly, but I'm pretty sure 15,000 feet beats just about anybody else. So
yeah, base camp Everest at whatever height it is. Yeah, that like I don't know of anybody that would have a desire to even attempt to break that. Because I can't think of anywhere that would be higher than that.
Not that someplace that's got an established enough place to actually do that at. Um, Speaking of heights, we do have two matches left on this card, and I'm gonna drive this just because we have the co-main. I'll save the co-main until last. But the
Okay.
next match that we have, which should actually be the second match on the card, so we've already went through.
Hmm.
We've went through one. We went 1, 5, 3. Now we're gonna go to 2, and then we'll tackle 4 for the last match.
All right, yeah, we'll do that.
The second match in chronological order on the card is Pepper Pryde versus the Midwest Muscle Mommy Juniper. Now, this match is a little bit of a backstory.
Okay, I
So
love hearing about this.
Juniper had a match at the last show against Karter Caufman, previously mentioned, and Leela Feist. Now, Juniper had a partner. Partner was unable to make it. So Juniper found a partner. That mystery partner happened to be Pepper Pryde. Now, we could say that Pepper's pride was hurt a little bit as they were unable to secure the dub in this match. And she very quickly turned on Juniper at the end of the match. So whether that almost felt premeditated, if we're going to go there with that, so we decided to bring them back and let them hash out their feelings in the ring. What better place? Hey, this is independent wrestling. We can do what we want. So, so we brought them back. Pepper and Juniper, they are going to go at it. They are going to kind of figure this thing out, and then hopefully be able to continue on with their careers and just not cross paths for a little while. We're not gonna see that happen. But once they both asked if they could make this match happen, get all their discretions out of the way, we made it happen. So
hey, no better way.
Intrigued to see how that goes. Pepper's been in the business slightly less than a year. Juniper's been in for, I want to say, close to 5 years at this point. So definitely a veteran rookie process going on here.
Definitely.
I know Juniper probably wouldn't call herself a veteran, but when you look at it, eyeball test, you can tell who's going to be who's the vet in the match. But with that said, that leaves a lack of film and a huge sense of unpredictability for whatever Pepper can bring to the table. And Pepper currently is managing TNA, our former TNA star, the Black Diamond, Jack Price. So who knows what she's picking up from Jack Price?
Hey, yeah, you never know. It's one of those things that maybe sometimes a person doesn't teach, the old adage. I'm trying to think of how it actually went, but did they teach you? They taught you everything but did they teach you everything they know? We won't know, but they're picking up little stuff there. So we'll see when this match goes down. All right, and
that is definitely it. So.
Oh yeah, and then we're at what? We're at the.
So this is the co-main, and the reason that this is the co-main going on number 4. So right after intermission, this is going to happen. But the reason this is happening is we have to call it the co-main because the main topic, Storm Garcon, is involved in this match. One of the our official ring announcer here at Divine, Annie O'Neill, Divine by Design, Annie O'Neill, made the slight mistake on her podcast when she had Storm on as calling Storm the main interest, or no, it was something about the something topic. Anyway, I'm not gonna say it. She didn't use the word main. So I had to make sure, I'm like, this is co-main. I'm not going to seek the wrath of Storm. Storm is a very competitive individual.
I was gonna say
is currently the AIWF Central States champion and has been for, I think, over 400 and close to 450 days at this point.
Oh, all right.
Has wrestled the likes of Eric Draven and a lot of people in the Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois area. Storm is the number 1 contender for the Divine Pro Championship. And I do want to make this very clear to everybody listening. It is not the Divine Women's Championship. It is the Divine Pro Championship, as we are a women's only thing. And I don't think that moniker needs to be entailed onto the title. However, Divine Pro just sounds cooler. It doesn't need the qualifier of being a women's champion. You know what? That's a championship. And willing willing, because we do work with a lot of other promotions, it will be defended outside of the country this year, and then I'm going to brag to everybody that's a world championship.
Oh God, hell, that's the whole
that's the criteria.
qualifier. That's a criteria right there. Once it's defended outside of the country that you're based in, world title at that point.
That is the criteria. So Stxrm is the #1 contender. She won a match against Ray Larson and TNA Knockout Tag Team, one half of the TNA Knockout Tag Team champions, Jody Threat, at the last show.
Ooh.
Yep. Jody was actually able, and I do want a big shout out to Jody. Jody was able to fill in on short notice. Originally, we were supposed to have Billy Starks on that show. Billy Starks was going to be in the main event. Billy Starks was unable to make it. Jody Threat was able to get there. Some time constraints happened, and we were able to slot Jody into a #1 contenders match because Jody is actually the first ever Divine Pro champion from 2019, 2018. Wow.
Okay.
When the promotion began. So there's a nice little tie-in for history. We still have to, I think, get 2 more people back. Jocelyn Navarro is a previous champion, and I feel like there's 1 more that we have to get back into this new iteration to kind of tie into our roots. But we're not talking about the past. We're talking about the present, possibly the future with Stxrm, but we're definitely talking about the present right now because the current Divine Pro champion is one heartless Heather Blue. Now, Heather's got a mouth. Heather rubs people the wrong way. But one thing Heather does do is always finds a way to pull out a win. It doesn't matter how big the challenge, and I'd be very honest with this, and Heather would admit this herself, her stature is not a handicap. She is all of 5 feet tall, if that, and is very willing to make sure that you know that she will find a way to beat you.
Oh yeah. One of those that, from what I've been able to watch is, might have, the height disadvantage in a lot of cases, but is like definitely not going to let that detract her from bringing it to whoever's across the ring from her.
Hey, there's a reason she's the champion. She won. She knew what she was getting into. She called the shot too. So she won at a Season of Change. Well, actually, at Season of Change, she lost in a match against Stella Buho, who was our former champion. But Heather was so confident that she put her For Us Wrestling 24 Karat Championship, who is a promotion that we work closely with, she put that on a line in a title for title match that took place at Pumpkin Spice Leg Drops, another For Us Wrestling show. And she ended up coming away, and she's Heather 2 belts. She's rocking a ton of gold right now. And she just finds a way to make it happen. And honestly, some of the best ever to do this, that's really what they come out with. They find a way to win.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't account for it because you never know how it's going to go. You just don't know how it's going to go down.
Oh, yeah. Like, hell, I'm trying to think. I know, hell, when I grew up originally watching wrestling, a person that ended up reminding me very much of that mentality, Ric Flair, actually. It was like, yeah, he went up against people much bigger than him, but then for some reason, dirtiest player in the game, he would find a way to, as much as he might get the crap beat out of him at different parts, more often than not, he ended up coming out on top.
Yep, and that's
very similar there.
That is very much what you get with Heather. She's going to find a way to win. She's not going to call it. She's going to tell you it's fair and square. I'll let others judge that. From my standpoint, I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. As far as I know, everything's been fair and square under the Divine banner. But yeah, so that wraps up the card. We're excited for it. It's a big show once again. It's January 11th. It's a Saturday night. Doors open at 6:45. Bells at 7:30. And generally, we're gonna have you out of there and on the road by 9:15. That's usually about how well the things wrap up for this. Also, just these banger matches.
God, yeah.
It's hard for them to go very long. Just the power the intensity that these ladies hit with. Um, yeah, it's a heck of a show. We do our best. One thing I will say is we're very family oriented. So if you're watching this, you're in the area, you got kids 12 and under, they're $5 for the ticket. General admission is 15. Front row is 20. There's not a ton of front row left. And honestly, if I'm saying this right, I hope that there's none left when this video goes live. But that's what we do. We do want to gear it towards kids. And the cool thing is while we are at this lovely venue, which is Grizzlies in Wyandotte, Michigan, I believe our next two shows are actually going to be on the road. One is at a venue TBD, which will either be late March or early April. And then the next venue that we have locked down, I believe, is in July in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we are trying to take Divine on the road. Women's wrestling is not something that I feel like should be corralled to one area.
Definitely not. Yeah.
We try to look at ourselves as a spiritual successor to Shimmer, or Shine or something like that. And if you want to read between the lines and you know where Shimmer usually aired from, certain legendary venue in the state of Illinois, let's just say that's not completely off the radar in the future. So we've already mentioned the name of it. I want people to do their research though, and I want them to go back and listen to the rest of the episode and potentially other episodes of Drinkinatmos. If you're listening to me, go watch other episodes of Drinkinatmos. Do it.
Oh,
you got time. Yes. You got time. All you're doing, you're sitting there, you're watching this. I don't know what you're doing. You're laying in bed, you're sitting in the restroom, something like that. You're watching. It doesn't matter where you watch from, just watch the product.
Oh hell. As of today, as of this recording, 302 episodes released.
Absolutely fantastic. And guess what? I hope you go for 388 more.
That would be awesome.
or more than that. I'm going
Holy
for
crap,
more.
I don't know how the hell that
you
happened.
did the thumbs up. I think the thumbs up did that. Do the thumbs up.
That must have done it. Like that's happened one other time, and I'm like,
do the thumbs up. I want to see if this happens again. Go for it.
No, it didn't work that time.
Okay. Well, we tried. Anyway, I hope it goes for a ton of more episodes. And I don't mean to cut this short, but I have to go to a show and I have to put a bunch of flyers out in the parking lot because we're trying to pack this house.
Yeah.
We did great. I will say this. We did great. So since the rebirth, the first couple of shows had about 60 people at them. Then we were up to mid 80s at the last show and really trying to get to 100 plus at this show. So we're continuing to grow. We just made a sweet investment. We have this not this exact thing because this is obviously a green screen, but we have a nice curtain, so when you see a picture from Divine, you're gonna know it's from Divine. We got skirts, we got a repeat banner for promos and promo pictures. I just quick rundown of everybody that works on the crew behind the scenes here. Renmark. Absolutely fantastic. Did promo shots last time. Renmark is going to be doing action shots on the side of the ring this time, along with Kim Buckman. Kim Buckman is a local photographer as well, who does edits them in very different manner to what Renly Photo does. Our promo pictures are going to be taken by Figured Out. So Ronnie Jackie's over at Figured Out. If anybody has ever gotten a belt from Hyperion Belts, Ronnie's the guy that took the picture of it. So that Ruthless, the Ruthless Pro belt that was the King of the Top belt. Yeah, that Ronnie did the pictures for that.
Nice.
So Ronnie's going to be there. Our camera operator is an amazing photographer themselves. That we have Gil on camera. Gil is a phenomenal photographer, but almost an even better cinematographer. So we're like, do we have them hold the camera? Like, how do we do this? I want a shout out to my audio guy, Big Trev of Roadhouse Productions. Shout out to my commentary team, which is one half of somebody who we already talked about, Peapod on lead commentary. My color commentator is Summer Rawson. My ring announcer, Annie O'Neill, the backstage crew, Kevin Calloway, one half of The Purge, Nick Green, who's one half of Saints of Saginaw, or Sons of Saginaw, sorry, not the Saints. I don't want to say that. One half or 1/3 of Sons of Saginaw, depending on how you want to look at that. They're a trio. It's himself, Ray Larson, and Ace Evans out of the Saginaw, Michigan area. I'm trying to think of everybody else that works backstage behind me. Jeremiah Goldmain helps out backstage. There's just so many people, and I can't. But my wife is awesome, and then the entire roster. Being that I'm a Lions fan, one of the big things that we have here is buy-in. Dan Campbell has really exposed it, like, or expressed it with the way that the Lions operate and about how it's unity. And whether you're biting kneecaps or something, that team has come together and they play for one another. And I don't ask everybody to be friends with one another, but if you're at the show, let's make this happen because if the show gets bigger, you get bigger. If you get bigger, the show gets bigger.
Oh,
It's a symbiotic relationship. And what's been really cool is that everybody's bought in. Everybody
that
is bought in and I love it. I just we're building something here, and I'm very excited about it.
I'm excited for you guys. Women's wrestling getting out there and getting a platform like this, and the kid friendly aspect of it. You're doing a favor for those little girls out there that might end up coming to the show.
My daughter goes to the shows. I'm a dad. I'm a girl dad. I'm a girl dad. So like I'm putting on a show that like, or sorry, we are putting on a show that other girl dads, other parents, other girl moms should want to bring their daughters to and find strong role models within the industry. For too long, was women's wrestling just pigeonholed as like a special attraction or this is a divas match or something like that. And
Yeah.
really, the women's revolution, and I'll give credit to the Bella twins, but let's like people like Beth Phoenix, Alicia Fox, like they progressed it out of that even farther back. Victoria, Jacqueline,
Leela.
Lita, Trish, Stacy Keebler, even. I mean, she was a really good wrestler. People want to say legs, but she was pretty darn good in the ring. Molly Holly, who is a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah.
Whether it's Molly Holly, Mighty Molly, whatever she does, there's a reason she's backstage and she's leading the charge for the women that you see on WWE television now.
Oh yeah.
And that's really what we want to build to is we want to find our Molly Holly. We want to find our people that can get to that point. And we're really happy that we have the crew that we have. Sometimes, obviously, scheduling issues. We ended up having to change the date for this show. So some of the people that were on the previous show, Stella Buho, Layla Feist, Rory Shield, they were unable to make this show. We have not forgotten about them. Things have not passed them by, but obviously everybody's schedules aren't open all the time. And what's really cool is we're able to kind of weave that in and introduce new people to the area. And then when the others come back, maybe they can face somebody new that they haven't faced before. So it's man, I will say this. People tell you don't get into the promoting game, and I would almost tell you the same thing, but we have such a great crew that it does make this a lot easier. I'm not going to call it easy, but it's a lot easier when you have a good team.
Oh yeah, when you have a good team behind you, yeah, it definitely does make it easier. Well, before we go, where can people find Divine on social media? So that way, if they don't already have their eyes on you guys, they can go ahead and get them there.
You can find us at Divine Pro Wrestling on Divine Women's Pro Wrestling on Facebook. I believe it's Divine Pro Wrestling 2019 on Instagram. We're on Blue Sky at Divine Pro Wrestling. And then you can find our shows currently on a Forklift podcast on YouTube. I'm trying to think if there's any other I'm trying to think if there's any other locations to really find it. Not really. Our Twitter went defunct, so we don't use that anymore. Like I said, we moved over to the Blue Sky stuff, but that's where it's at. You can find sharing stuff on everybody that's involved's personal page as well. You're going to see a ton of stuff come across. And you can find this interview right here at Drinkinatmos. So that's important too, which is where you should look for all of your interviews at, for all of your favorite wrestling people. Come here and watch.
Oh, hell yeah. All right. Well, that is about it. I know you got to get going. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. Best of luck out there getting stuff more promoted for this show. I look forward to seeing it.
And thank you for having me on. Thank you for allowing all of this work that these ladies put forward to be showcased in a way that they so deserve. And definitely, I hope to talk to you before. I hope to talk to you before the next show too. We'll get you tuned in. I'll drop you a link to the show when it goes up. It'll probably be live by the end of January. We try to make the show live 2 weeks after the 2 weeks after the show happens, because we do want you to come to the show. There's nothing like independent wrestling. If you have the option to go to a local show, go to a local show. That is the way that these shows can continue to happen. We just get lucky that YouTube is available and we're able to spread the love that way too. Because there's never in my wildest imagination did I think the last show would have ended up with 12,000 views on it, but it did. And that's 12,000 more people than would have saw it if they were at the place, because it doesn't hold 12,000 people.
Yeah, exactly.
Very honest. It's more than an AEW show.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunately on that as well. But once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everybody should. Once again, you can listen to me. Don't listen to me. Check out Divine Pro Wrestling and watch all of the other episodes here at Drinkinatmos.
Thank you. Or my thing with the fucking button again.